Welcome to U-Talk. I'm Paige Turner, school counselor at Noble Middle School. Our show is all about the middle school student. We leave no stone unturned. Testing, bullying, dating, stress, and so much more. Joining me each month is a knowledgeable panel of middle school students, ready to discuss the issues and tackle the tough questions. On our show this month, we've got a special guest from the testing department who is going to share test-taking tips for students and parents. Plus, we'll talk with our panel about their own test-taking strategies. But first, we kick off our show with some Q&A featuring questions on a variety of topics for middle school students throughout the school system that our panel of students is ready to answer. No question is too tough, no topic is too difficult. All right, panelists, here's our first question. It says, I have a crush on my best friend's brother. We're 12. My best friend is 14, and she knows about my crush. I asked her today if she could ask her brother if he liked me via email. She replied saying that she subtly talked with her brother and he said that he thought I was cool, but he only liked me as a friend. I'm not sure how to handle the situation. Can you help me?
Okay, number one, is this 2002? Why are you emailing each other? I'm really confused. Number two, you're 12. Come on. You're like, it's not like you're gonna date him like long term. Just ask him already. I mean, chances are it'll last for about 4 days. You'll go to the movies, your parents will pay for it, and that'll be it. It'll be one of those things that you always remember as that awkward first date, you know?
All right, so that's one perspective for sure, is just kind of get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have any other advice?
It's a crush. It's probably not going to last that long,
and
it's...
I mean, have you guys ever had crushes and you've, been nervous or afraid to tell somebody, or because I know that you guys are saying, well, it's not a big deal and you'll get over it, but if like they really, really, really like that person, I mean, it could be really devastating. I don't know.
Well, I think that she needs to think about is it really a crush, or like if she's really interested in the person, or if it's just like she thinks that they like them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes it could be that just because you've gotten to know somebody really well and they're close friends, and she could be misinterpreting that as that she likes them as something more. Who knows? So I guess your guys' advice is to just kind of try to forget about the crush and to move on and maybe focus on some other things.
And I mean, also, like, go for it. Live your dream. You do you. But, like, know that you're 12, and also if your friendship with this random 14-year-old girl is important to you, you might not want to date her brother, because then if that ends badly, your friendship's ruined, and I don't care how close you two were. So
and I can say that middle school relationships don't really work out, and I'm assuming that they're middle school based on their age, so it's not.
Yeah, it's very, it's not very often that I hear about middle school relationships that have turned into long-term relationships that turn into, forever relationships. Not to say it does. I was about to say. I'm not to say it doesn't happen. So your parents were in middle school.
They met in 7th grade algebra class, and my dad made fun of my mom's shoes, and
the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's move on to our next question. All right, I am 12, another 12-year-old, and my parents think that I act like I'm 5. I don't hang out up in my room because I'm scared to go upstairs, and I don't know why. My mom says I'm really irresponsible, and sometimes I feel really hurt by it. There was a situation tonight where my braces were poking my lip, and I wanted my teeth waxed. My mom said she would go get it, and she asked me where it was. I said it might be in the basket with the hairdryer, so she went to look. When she came up, she said it wasn't there, and that's no surprise because I don't take care of anything. So I guess in this situation, the mother and daughter are not really they're not on the same page.
I would get like a counselor to figure out why they're not on the same page, and why the mother gets so irritated with her daughter, and why the daughter doesn't like change her so that she's more organized.
Yeah, there's definitely issues on both parts, I think. I think, number one, the person, there's obviously a reason you're being like called like the 5-year-old, so I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. Grow up. That came out mean, but it's sort of one of those things that everybody has to like deal with at one point is you have to have responsibilities and you have to be able to keep up with stuff. But then I also feel like the mom is sort of
Enabling a little?
yeah, and also being like unusually mean towards
Gotcha.
her child.
I mean, at what point do you guys feel like that you guys should be completely independent and shouldn't have mom and dad kind of checking back over what you're doing, or kind of
It depends
Whenever
on the
you've
person.
moved out.
whenever you've moved out?
My brother, he still is basically being taken care of by my parents. And he's 18. And then I'm more independent, but I'm still called immature and childish sometimes because you still have to be a kid too. You have to make it clear to your parents that there's a difference.
You can try like talking to them, like how you feel. It's always good to let them know how you feel about the situation, not just
Absolutely.
let it keep going.
Yeah, kind of fester. Do you think at middle school is an okay time for parents to try to step back and kind of let you either fly or
I think it depends on the child. I think by middle school, kids should start being more independent and be able to do some of the daily tasks that their parents normally do for them. But they can still rely on their parents too. And I think that the parents should understand that that's a changing time for them and that they need their parents, but they still want to be.
I think there's a very big jump, and I think it happens, and it's different for everybody, but I think like around like that 10 to 13 period, that's a little young, but there's like something that clicks with people, and it always sort of happens at like a different time where you sort of become more independent. And I don't think, in some people it happens later, and some people it happens earlier, so I don't think for a parent to expect that of a child, I don't think that's okay. I think that's something the child has to realize on their own.
But if the parent's always there, kind of like the helicopter parent coming in and, you know, kind of taking over.
And it does sound like the parent's enabling her because she's going to go get her stuff for her and she's going to go do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's sort of both their faults.
Well, I think it goes back to what Johnny was saying in terms of just having that open communication, and the parent can express maybe some goals, some things they want them to try to do a little bit more on their own, but still know that they have their parents there as a safety net. Because I do feel like you guys, you know, still need your parents there as a backup, you know, but you
And I do
guys need
think-
to try to get out there.
I think it's a little extreme that she's like, she went up and couldn't find it, so she said that's what she expected, that it would be lost, because I think that just like hurts the child.
Yeah.
And there's other ways to express to your child that you think that they aren't organized enough, but
Yeah.
saying that to them is not right.
Yeah, well, that was some good advice. All right, next question. I participated in this play last year and absolutely loved it. I felt like I had a second family there because everyone is so kind and makes you feel like you fit in, and I don't feel that way anywhere else. Anyway, I found out that the next play is happening this week and I cried for joy. The problem is my parents hated it last time because they had to drive us there every weekend, and now they both have jobs and don't have time. I get they are busy, so I agreed only once a week is fine, but they are insisting not. It's not like they're sympathetic about it either. Anyway, how do I convince them to let me go? If I don't, I'm going to cry forever. I cannot live without going there because I fit in nowhere else. It gave me motivation to get through the school week. Help.
Number one, I see why you like theater, because that was possibly the most dramatic question I have ever heard on this show. Number two, find a friend or a person who's already doing theater and carpool. You're saving the environment, you know, it's just, you know, better in general. But, yeah, I don't know. I think you need to tell them how you feel about how serious you are about it. And also you need to tell them that you're willing to step up and sort of take on some responsibilities because you are making them use their time to get you there. So you have to say, hey, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do more chores. Like, it's definitely one of those things that you're gonna have to work for if you really want it, and if it's that important for you.
I understand where like this person is coming from with like family, because like our family kind of here, it kind of brings us together, and we enjoy it a lot. And I understand why she would like be upset if she couldn't do it again.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe like kind of what Henry was saying is maybe explaining to their parents maybe in a little bit a more mature way of how much that, opportunity would mean to that, to her, and, maybe compromise, maybe help come up with some solutions instead of just complaining about the problem. It's always good coming to the table with some solutions. So that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know that the parent knows that the child doesn't feel like they fit in anywhere else, because if that's their only place that they feel welcome, the parents are probably going to work to make sure that they feel.
Yeah. And, bottom line is if it doesn't work out, hopefully there's going to be another opportunity down the road for that, It doesn't mean it's the end of the world because you don't have this one opportunity.
All the world's a stage.
Yes.
I had to say it.
Yes. All right, we're going to move on to one last question. Ever since I started middle school, my dad and I have had problems. It seems that no matter what I do, I can never gain his approval. He wants me to clean, but I can never do it to his standard. He wants me to have good grades, but my 1B upsets him. He thinks I'm not a normal teenager because I don't want to spend every second of my free time cleaning rather than watching TV or playing video games. If I don't keep my room clean for one day, he turns off the Wi-Fi and the cable. I'm at my wit's end. I don't know how to deal with his controlling behavior any longer without snapping, and I can't tell him how I feel ever because he thinks I'm trying to be manipulative towards him. Please, I need advice. Any advice is better than none.
Do what I do. Just let the problem get so bad that he won't even try anymore. That's really what I've done.
Like, give me an example.
Like, I just don't clean my room, and now when it is messy, it looks clean because it was so bad. So just let the problem get so out of hand that even if you do a little bit, it looks like a lot.
That's one way.
All the advice you need in life.
That's one way of it.
You could just try to keep it clean, but not spotless, so that you don't have to keep it clean every week or every day. And then you can have time for other things. But if they're being so controlling, you have to try to talk to someone else if you have someone else in your life to do it.
Yeah, I think part of it is this person doesn't feel like they can live up to their parents, their dad's standards, It sounds like it's really tough.
That can be very damaging to a child's self-esteem when they feel like their parents don't accept them or don't, believe in them. I don't understand why anybody would do that to their child or to anyone else in general, because it can cause so many problems of feeling like you're not useful, and I don't know, I think you need to have a serious conversation with your father about how you feel, and maybe even talk to somebody else about it to get some outside perspective.
I would ask the question of why his dad is so, or her dad is so controlling.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't normally just happen for no reason.
Yeah. Well, and I think many of you have talked about having that neutral third party, maybe to get involved as a mediator, especially if you feel like you can't get anywhere when you've had that tried to have that conversation, whether it be that your mother or another family member, or going to your school counselor who can make a phone call and have a meeting, anything like that. So, yeah, good advice, guys. All right. Well, that wraps up UTalk Q&A. If you're a middle school student with a question you'd like our panel to discuss, there are several ways to submit that question. First, you can drop the question off to your school counselor or social worker. 2, you can email it to nhcstv@gmail.com. Or 3, use good old-fashioned mail by sending your question to NHCS-TV UTalk, 1802 South 15th Street, Wilmington, North Carolina, 28401. Now, coming up in our next segment, we talk about test taking with our special guest from the School Systems Testing Department.
It's springtime in the forest of the black-tailed deer. The young male is feeling playful. It's time for tag. The female flicks her ears. Her way of saying, "Catch me if you can."
Welcome back to UTalk. It's that time of year again with EOGs and final exams. This month on UTalk, we have a special guest from the testing department. She is joined by Lily over on our interview stage. Lily?
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Joining me is Karen Green. She is the director of New Hanover County Schools Testing Department. Ms. Green joins us to share some tips for both students and parents about getting us ready for this next round of testing. Welcome, Ms. Green, to UTalk.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, my first question is, why do we have all this testing?
Well, the testing is required by both the federal government and the state, and we're required to monitor student progress at all three levels, meaning elementary, middle, and high school. And once we complete testing, parents in report cards receive results for their individual child, and it compares the child against how the school did as well as how the state did. So it really gives parents some information about where their child is in relation to everybody else in the state.
Okay, thank you. So we have to take these tests. What are some things that parents can do right now to help prepare their students for end-of-year testing?
One thing parents can do is talk to their children each evening about what they're reading and monitor their reading and encourage them to read different types of text, not just fiction but nonfiction texts as well, because on our tests, on the reading test, we actually may have some science passages or some social studies passages or some nonfiction passages such as that. And one of the biggest tips is endurance. I know in most of our literacy, in our English language arts classes, a literacy block focuses on making sure that children have time to read independently and monitoring that time. The end of grade tests are longer than most of our classroom tests, so students really need to practice reading for longer periods of time. The passages aren't that long, maybe a page to a page and a half, but there are many passages, and the state has to do that in order to measure all of the objectives, because one reading passage may measure 3 or 4 objectives. And in math, parents can encourage students to problem solve at home, to work collaboratively on complex projects such as calculating how much paint might be needed, if you're planning on doing home improvement projects, fencing, gardening, things of that nature, and using a calculator to make sure that they can, that tool can support them in complex problem solving. So just any projects that are going on around the house that involve money or numbers, parents are encouraged to involve their children.
So is there a strategy to taking some of these tests?
Well, I think the biggest strategy is it's just one data point in time, and it's important to know that this is just your opportunity as a student to show what you know. There are multiple data points that are collected throughout the school year. Teachers have all kinds of data on an individual student progress. This is just one point in time at the end of the year where the child has a chance to show what they know. So keep calm. Our teachers do an excellent job in preparing students for the test, because the test measures the standards, and our teachers in New Hanover County Schools do a really good job teaching the standards.
Okay. So what about students? What can we do to prepare for the testing?
Well, there are multiple test-taking strategies, and I know classroom teachers right now are working on test-taking strategies. On the reading test, one of the biggest things is you want to have a purpose for reading. So it's always good to skim over the questions that are going to be asked. So if a reading passage has 5 questions, I would read over those questions first, so then when you go to read the passage, you have a purpose for reading.
That's some good advice. Any last-minute advice for us students?
Just to remain calm and not to get stressed, and to remember that this is one point in time, it's one data point, it's an opportunity to show what you know. The school's going to do everything they can to make sure that the environment is comfortable, that you have plenty of room, that you have all the tools you need. If you need a calculator for a certain part of the test, that will be provided. And to just get plenty of rest, and to eat a well-balanced breakfast that includes protein, because what we know about protein helps our mind but it also stays with us longer, so we won't be feeling those hunger pains towards the end of the test.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Green, for the great advice and tips. Now back over to our panel for more on testing.
Thanks, Lily. Okay, panelists, let's talk about your experiences and advice on testing. So what are your thoughts about testing?
Well, what I do, like the night before we have like a big test, like the EOGs, I study with like a friend and take all the notes that I had from that year and just review them. If it's like a test or a quiz that you get like every other week, then I take maybe like a good 20 minutes to review that.
Tests are awful. Nobody likes taking tests. Let's face it. Everybody has test taking anxiety. But the thing that I find with like the EOGs and big tests like that, mine's slightly different than yours, is I always like cram the week before the EOGs, and that's when I do like all my notes and all my studying, and then sort of like that week of the EOGs and like the nights, I just sort of let myself relax. I talk with friends, I let myself, sort of do whatever I want, because you definitely don't want to be stressing out about the test and then like that stress sort of carries over. You want to be as calm and collected as you can for the test tomorrow, so it's just sort of nice to have like a week where you give yourself a break because you know that these tests are going to be really intense.
Yeah, I normally, the night before the whatever subject it is, I study all of that information. I don't try to study all the information at once. I do it topic by topic. And then with like math, the night before, I would go through all my formulas. And then like whenever I get to the test, they give you that piece of white paper and I write down everything that I remember about that topic and just write it all down, so then I have that. It's like a study guide that you have during the test.
My strategy is like Emily's and Henry's combined, because I study the week before and then write it down and study that for like the night after or night before. But I've been taught to take tests because I come from a county where all they cared about was the test results. So I always feel that it's always just showing what the teacher has taught us, and I try to stick with that instead of thinking that this is all on me, because it relaxes you. But to make the EAGs more fun, I kind of make it like a race almost with the letters, so that whoever has the more wins.
Okay, like when you're bubbling in the A, B, C's, and D's. Okay, just to kind of make it a little bit more exciting so it just doesn't get too boring.
And keeps the pressure off.
Yeah. Well, I think the important thing that you guys have shared is that, you all have a little bit different strategy and how you kind of view the test and how you prepare for the test. And the important thing is for you to find kind of what fits for you, because what fits for one person may not fit for another. I definitely, like the review part, because it is good to review, and you're going to be doing a lot of that in your classes. But I do like Henry's, point of being able to just kind of de-stress, take some, time off from studying right before, because you don't want it to carry over, into the test. So, no, I think that's really, really great advice. So thank you guys. And I know testing is not fun, but just something that we all have to do. So I've been there, I've had to do it too. So, all right. Well, don't go away, we'll be right back.
Okay, so we drowned the fire,
Yep.
stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
Welcome back to U-Talk. We want to close this show with our panel sharing a little advice to rising middle schoolers. So what advice do you guys have for the current fifth graders that are coming to middle school?
In general or about testing, like specifically?
In general, probably, yeah.
Well, when you come to middle school, don't be like scared, because it's at first when I came to middle school, I thought it would be like completely different, but I mean, the only thing that's different about it is that it's more independent, and you have to be on top of everything that you have to do. So don't stress yourself on it, because I mean, you haven't started it yet, but enjoy it whenever you come.
Okay, I'm gonna do a quick rundown of each grade because there's different things. 6th grade, you may think you're cool, you're not. Get over yourselves. 7th grade, it's gonna seem awful because you're like, oh, I have another year here. It's just, you know, you're tired and you're not like cool enough to be like, you're not like cool 8th graders, but you're also not lame 6th graders. So, you know, it's just gonna be weird. 8th grade, the beginning's gonna be hard and the workload's gonna be a lot like bigger than what you were doing before, so don't even complain in 6th and 7th grade. But 8th grade is a really good year, and you change a lot throughout the year, and by the end of the year, I think you're much more mature, or at least that's what happened with a lot of my friends and myself, I would like to think, even though probably not true. And you know, you're gonna look back at pictures of 6th grade and be like, that was so long ago, but it wasn't, so treat the 6th graders right, because you were them 2 years ago. Okay, that's all.
And don't call them lame, because they're
Well,
not.
I mean, we...
All right, Peyton and Emily, do you guys have any
It's
advice?
kind of indescribable, just because for everyone it's different. Because if you know that a lot of your friends are going to go there, you'll probably become instantly popular and you'll have the great experience. But 6th grade isn't that bad. It's a lot like 5th grade because they're still working to get you to be more independent. But it's really just, you don't have to walk in lines through the hallways. It's basically
pretty
the
much
same.
There are no lines in the hallway.
Okay, we got to wrap up, Emily, so real quick, do you have any words of advice?
It's a changing experience for everyone, and it's going to be different for everyone, but it's just neat to see your life change, and it's going to be completely different.
There's a lot of growth you guys do between 6th and 8th grade. Huge amount. So I like to enjoy it, don't stress, live in the moment. It's good times. All right, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of UTalk. If you missed any part of this program, then check us out online at www.nhcs.net and click on the video library link found on the school system's webpage. I'm Paige Turner. On behalf of the entire UTalk panel, thanks for watching. We hope you'll submit questions to our show and tune in again next month for an all-new episode of UTalk.